Hello, YouTube.
What
Start
about-
the show. 5, 4, 3.
Welcome, everyone, and pull up a seat at the table. It is lunchtime in Rome. Tonight is episode 153, entitled Affection. Do you love a hug?
Yes.
Do you need your loved ones to say, I love you every time you hang up the phone? How much do you need affection? Where did it come from? Did you always get it? Have you never had it? What do you do when you don't get that need met? So pull up a chair at the table and join us. First-time listeners, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app or listen directly on lunchtimeinrome.com. While there, please take our relational needs questionnaire. It's a wonderful thing to understand yourself better and other people. Make sure to follow us on all social media, and it would be great if you gave us a 5-star review. Jay, what is this podcast about?
Being alone is the worst. Good times aren't as good, and bad times are worse when you're all alone. Romans 12:15 says to rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. That is how you keep people from being alone, and what this podcast is all about. We demonstrate that in the first 15 minutes or so of the podcast, and we talk about it for the rest. So while it may not be 12:15 in Rome, we're treating it like it is
Lunchtime in Rome.
Happy 420.
Oh, is that today?
Yeah, it's today.
all day.
April
Wow.
20th.
The
Just another
guys
day.
at the BP when I was getting air in my tires were celebrating.
Yeah, yeah. It's also Hitler's birthday today.
Ironically.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I just don't know things.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
No.
Not
I mean,
anymore.
It's
No.
I don't know why I know that. Or I made it up, and maybe it's his birthday's a
I
totally
trust
different
you.
day.
I trust
don't know. I don't know if I'd do that. How you doing, Chris?
I'm good. I will apologize. I interrupted your intro. You asked if
That's
I
okay.
needed a hug, and I answered.
Do you need a hug?
Well, no. I don't right now. I'm good. But do I love a hug? I guess is how you phrased it. And yes. So as we get into affection tonight, I'll be. That's high on my list of emotional needs.
I don't think I knew that.
You
I
seem
don't think I
excited.
knew that either.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's not my highest, but it's up there. So
We're good friends.
it's
Hitler's birthday is today, by the way, April 20th.
man,
And Chris needs a hug.
Yep, and Chris needs a hug.
That's the details.
Hitler probably could have used a couple.
right?
And that's it for the pod.
That's it was good while it lasted, wasn't it? So I've got goods and bads happening in my life. I'm gonna start with a bad. I wasn't here last week to talk about it, but 2 weeks ago I talked about our dog Willow.
Aw.
I know it's gonna be a big downer. She passed away about a week and a half ago now. Yeah. And it was kind of sudden. Like, obviously we knew she was sick, but it all just went down rather quickly. She had pancreatitis, I think is the correct term, which basically means her pancreas went bad and she couldn't process food properly, and it just it was just a sad it was a sad end for a pup that, like, she really was like a puppy to the end. Like, she was full of life, and yes, I complained about her because she could be really annoying and mischievous and troublesome, but she was really adorable. And for that first week especially, I had a really hard time with it. I did, like, way harder than I thought, because there have been so many times over the past, I don't know how many years, that I've thought, when that dog is dead, I don't know that I will miss her, because she has caused me so much trouble.
Her more than Zelda?
They go back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I kind of thought they were the same dog twice.
Right, they kind of are.
Okay.
Yeah. But except
for
for
the
eye
eye
thing,
thing,
right?
right?
the big the big difference besides
She, just for those of you who don't know, Zelda has like a rotten grape hanging from her eye.
And it's gotten bigger.
it's like a beagle thing.
And it's
Like,
always there.
There's these growths, these benign growths that they have, and she happens to have one. Like, yeah,
It's
right. Like,
massive.
it's
Was Zelda kind of strutting around like, y'all didn't think I was going to be the one still around, did you?
Seth, my brother. My son Ben, not my brother Seth. Yeah, I do that sometimes. Ben actually said, "Yeah, I really didn't think it was gonna go down this way."
You said because it was so sudden too, like it had, like it was like a switch flipped, and that's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, because it
That's
is
the
Zelda
worst.
that has slowed down over the years,
Yeah.
and has a hard time, just getting up out of bed. She's always, stiff-legged, and there's a little limp, and she has trouble getting down the stairs. Whereas Willow was just up all over the place. But yeah, so
That's the worst.
it was sad for us. I think for Amy and I more than the kids, amazingly, which was a weird part of it because the kids grew up with her.
Right. More than 3/4 of their lives.
Yeah, but both of them, I mean,
Ish.
and we didn't ignore, we're trying to engage with their needs and have conversations about it, but they're like, you don't want to overdo it like we always talk about. If they're not sad, you don't want to be like, oh, you should be sadder. So
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They
What is wrong with you?
handled it pretty well, and me and Amy to some extent were just like, oh, this is way sadder than we thought it would be.
Yeah.
So that was hard.
Yeah.
The good is though, I mean, other than that, I am just living life and just like enjoying the process right now. My anxiety has been really down. I feel like I'm on top of things. I'm busy. We're getting ready for Patty's Longest Day, which is a disc golf tournament this year to celebrate Amy's mom's memory. And we did our concert it was the year after she died. We did the first Patty's Longest
Was that
Day.
2018, I think, something like that?
Might have even been the summer of 2017.
I would think 17, but I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, she passed away in January of 2017. I'm pretty sure it was that first
Okay.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
So
old
summer.
Tall Trees Amphitheater. Still on YouTube.
It's a great place.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Is
Yeah.
it? I'll have to check it out sometime.
Yep.
But yeah, that was a great event, and we haven't done anything since. It's been 5 years. So this year it's a disc golf tournament, and then as you guys all know, because you're all helping with it and everything, and it's just sort of been occupying my mind and all the little details getting it ready. But it's been really good. So yeah,
Well, I got some new discs to
Oh,
use there.
yeah.
nice.
Yeah, I was throwing a couple earlier tonight. And,
Where'd you go?
Just up the Penn Hills at the high school.
Poop field?
Poop field.
Yeah, at the high school. That's I love it.
It's just a great place to go throw. It's close to me.
It's been busy lately. There's been a lot of
Yeah, a
people
lot of
out there.
activity, which is nice.
Hey,
I
if you
mean,
don't care, you're just like, hey,
I'll-
look out!
I'll hit somebody.
Disc comes flying in.
almost hit you last week.
That's true. Yeah.
That was great.
I showed you. I went and got that disc.
And you did, and I appreciate that. That was probably one of the highlights of my week.
Oh,
You
that's too bad.
walking in on Sunday with that disc, it was like, because I didn't throw well on the day we went out.
Saturday.
And Friday.
I didn't want to say anything.
Friday, you're right.
Oh, I sucked. It was terrible. But I enjoyed myself. I had a lot on my mind. It's been a heavy couple weeks, and for various reasons and good and bad. But it was nice to get out last Friday morning with you gentlemen and just walk and at one point I just didn't care. I was like, whatever.
Right.
So
And a good drive on 18.
I had a good drive on 18. I did. I also want to talk about Ethan or the musical this coming weekend because I'm really excited about that. Ethan is so excited about it. He's one of the leads. They're doing, what is it?
Little Women.
Little Women.
Yeah, and he's one of the leads. And I saw some pictures. I try not to. In the play that he was in earlier this year, I try not to really ask him about it or look into it too much at all. I just want to be really surprised and have everything be genuine. So I haven't heard him sing, but he has singing parts, and so I'm really, really excited to see him. And
Are you nervous?
No, I'm not.
All right.
It's so
No.
interesting to see him in that element.
Yeah,
'Cause,
it really is.
He's not a real animated guy.
No,
And
He doesn't control
Right.
the room when he walks in.
no, you're like, oh, Ethan, when
No,
did you get
but-
here?
but
About a half hour ago.
I was here before you got here.
he's extremely serious about what he's doing with
Yeah.
it though, and they've put in so much practice. These kids have practiced so much, and so I think that's why I'm not nervous. And also he's just really excited, and I just want to join him in that excitement. And I can't wait to see Bella and Lily, and it's just the work that they've put into it. I think the last thing I'm going to talk about is my Ford. It's been gone now for a month. I took it into a mechanic to get a new transmission, and transmission's a big job. And I knew up front that it was probably going to be a longer process, but the mechanic is a master mechanic. I have no reason to doubt his skills, but he ran into some issues. So he's trying to get to the bottom of it right now. But the point is, I haven't had it for a month, but at the same time, like I haven't missed it. Like I miss driving it because I love that car, but we haven't been like, oh, we're out of luck.
We can't go here. We can't go there.
Right. Now I'm heading to Dallas next week, and I'm kind of like, well, I need a car to take out to the airport, or somebody's gonna have to drive me.
That'll be
so
fun.
yeah, like I'd like it back by then. At that point, it'll be like a month and a half. So it'd be nice to have it back.
That's a long time.
It is a long time,
Yeah.
but again, like I really haven't seemed to miss it too much. So
Right.
Yeah.
hallelujah.
Hey, I encourage everybody to get tickets. It's early in the week still.
Yeah.
That's midweek at this point. And when you go to the website, you're like, oh, wow, there are not a lot of tickets sold.
Yeah.
And that was actually Bella's comments last night before bed. What if nobody shows up? And for all the drama that's going on in the world, but specifically even Penn Hills with the name change, they're throwing up an idea to change the name from the Indians. And I look online and there's 200 comments. And there's 100 comments on a different page on the whole thing. And I said to Todd last night, I said, I can, he goes, and I can make an argument, Todd said, for why they should switch it. And I can make an argument why they shouldn't switch it. And I said, I have the definitive argument that wins overall. And he goes, yeah, but still. I went, no, that's a different thing. I said, it didn't have to be now. I said, it's a terrible PR move now.
Yeah.
I say all that to say this. For everybody who is so passionate that we should keep the name Indians, and so passionate that we should get our finances in order, and so passionate they need to get the school in order before they start tackling nicknames, or they're so passionate on behalf of the district that we need to have a better nickname. Hey, how about you be passionate about the kids who have put in hundreds of hours?
Yeah.
And teachers and volunteers who have put in hundreds of hours and show up and say whatever they do is great, because it will be great. And unlike you, Brian, I am nervous.
Are you?
I am nervous just because, and again, I've never heard Bella screw up. Ever.
Right.
She bangs out everything she does.
She's phenomenal.
Right. And I'm like, if she screws up, it will be the worst thing in the world. And my heart will go through the ground and she will be distraught. And I have no reason to believe she will. I even said to her a week ago, I said, where are you right now? She said, we went through the whole thing beginning to end. She's like, oh, it was good. I said, where are you on your performance? I said, how do you feel? And she goes, oh, I feel good. She goes, I don't have it locked down and I can't flip the switch yet, but I'm close. The fact that she's even talking like that.
That's awesome.
She knows where it is, but still, I'm just like, my goal is always to be more like Brian.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
I want to be able to just be there in the moment and not be like, I don't know what the next line is, but hope she doesn't screw it up.
Yeah.
Isn't that like sad and frustrating though, that that's what your brain does? I don't mean just you, but because I experienced that too. But like, there's no reason to be nervous. There's nothing that and yet.
Oh, there's a reason.
Okay, there's reason to. Okay, but there's no evidence. You know what I mean? Like you were saying, she's never screwed up. She's never.
And why can't you wait?
Right.
If there's going to be a screw up,
why
why can't
worry?
you wait for
Why
it?
is worrying over something that you can't control a thing?
Well, that's a deeper. Go ahead.
Well, I come back to the Tom Brady throws interceptions. That's my philosophy. Like, if you mess up, you move on, and it sucks to mess up, but people are going to mess up, and you just hope that they don't. But if they do, okay, that happened.
And I, even before the play this fall, I preloaded that whole thing with her and Bailey, the guy that she was in Mary Poppins with, her comedic cohort. I said, true acting doesn't really begin until somebody screws up and you have to adapt to it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just reciting and kind of interpreting. But like when somebody screws up and you're like, well, we got to find a way to get through this and fill the next line. Like, that's when it's on. So like, even if you screw up, okay, great. How do you get out of it?
Right.
Because I'm preloading that because I don't want her to beat herself up so bad.
Right.
So-
How do you not get hung up on it?
Right.
Definitely, that's a thing.
So the musical is this Friday and Saturday at 7:30, I think. Showtime starts, and then it's also next weekend, Friday, Saturday, and then a matinee on Sunday. Just for
if you Google Penn Hills musical,
I think
it'll
we're
give you-
going next Saturday.
There you go,
Yeah.
30th.
Sounds good.
So that's just sort of a lot of what's going on with that. I went through a period a couple weeks ago where, I've shared on the podcast, I was under attack, and it's so crazy. As soon as that door closes and you're like, okay, I think we're past that and everything else. And then boom, it's not me. It's just a lot of people around me. And it has been, I got an email yesterday, a text yesterday about some work issues from Jan. And I only knew some of the details, and she was asking me for advice. And I said, look, I'm in the middle of a dumpster fire. I'm going to have to ask you to make somebody a phone call and handle this. And she was like, sorry, no problem. But like, I had zero margin. It was like, I got no more room.
Right.
And so we're sifting through that, but it's fun to do that. But I will conclude my update with the fact that Rachel and I had a conversation this morning. And, we talk a lot. I don't know if you know this about emotional needs.
Ah.
And Eric and I
Rachel's very into it.
She is.
She is.
She is. She would rather not.
Right.
But she is. And Eric and I talked about on Saturday how hard it is in the moment to identify the hurts or the needs not met or, all that kind of fun stuff. And so this morning, Rachel and I had probably a good half-hour conversation. It was as open and honest and vulnerable, and we both mutually gave. And we said, look, I know that's what, this was my intention, but I understand it made you feel this way. But here's it was like, I would have, except for the topic, I would have loved to have recorded it because it would have been a master's class. It was one of the first times I felt like we were both on point, both giving grace, listening, hearing, meeting. It was phenomenal.
That's awesome. I celebrate that.
And I just did a pre-marriage teaching with Lucas and Courtney, 2 former volleyball players of mine who are getting married. And I said to them, now look, that is 12 years Rachel and I have been working at this. I said, so you guys are already doing great. It's a long road to go. I said, it is a long road, but it was kind of awesome.
That is awesome.
I celebrate that, man.
I'll try to be quick. So right now, I'm going through one of those seasons where I feel like I'm drowning a little bit.
No.
I have a lot of things that I'm trying to catch up on and finish and put a period at the end of the sentence on.
In general or at work or?
Work, side stuff. It's why I totally forgot about the disc stamp.
Yeah. Which is beautiful,
it's great.
By the way.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's not what I want it to be. I'm gonna make a better one next year, but it's one of those. I didn't get to spend the time that I wanted to on it, and I forgot about it. So
for Patty's longest day,
yeah. So there is that, and there's we right before we got COVID back in January, Amy and I had planned a little getaway trip. We still haven't been able to get away.
Still gotten away,
and we're getting away, but it's still like a month away, and I'm just jonesing to get away and get some R&R, and not have to wake up to a toddler, right by the side of your bed every morning. You know what I mean? Like just waiting for a little bit of a break, a little bit of a breather. And so I'm just feeling that, and I just can't wait for that, but I'm just ready to have that.
And it's not here, and it's like,
yeah.
Will it ever get here?
Yeah, right.
And you don't want to wish your life away, but a month would be good.
Yeah.
I give away a month of my life.
But the good thing is, Easter, we got Maggie a bicycle with training wheels on it.
Oh, cool.
And she is just taken to it so well.
Nice.
Like, she's just going. It's awesome, and it's really fun.
You just let her drive right around the whole neighborhood unsupervised?
Yeah, we went. Yeah,
download. Let her go.
Yeah. She knows how to use the coaster brake and everything.
She's on the parkway.
But she does just go. She doesn't know how to really stop, but she's learning how to turn. And learning direction, which is good. Not yet. Yeah, not
Hit that
yet.
wheel a little hard and hit
Not
over
yet.
on the right
She's
shoulder.
close, but not at a high speed today.
Yeah.
Which would have been a good lesson at not a high speed. But it's just so much fun to watch her, and she's just it's just pure joy.
Yeah.
And it's just awesome to watch.
Just curious what parents do these days, but helmet, right? Obviously. Knee pads?
Nah,
Nothing. Okay.
let's make her stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. The more she cries, the better.
that's right.
I don't know.
That's right.
I was going to here's what it isn't. I was going to say if she cries, you could give her a hug.
Oh, she won't want one for me though. I don't think Maggie's high on Chris affection.
Well, but actually that would be comfort. So that's why it was a little confusing. But we have talked in the past. We've already have one in the books. We are taking, for lack of a better term, deep dives into each of the emotional needs. You want to check out our first one, which was acceptance. And that was probably episode 150 would be my guess. Ish. Wonder if it was. Anyhow.
Probably titled.
It probably is titled acceptance.
Yeah.
As this one is titled affection.
Yep.
And what we're doing is looking into the emotional need. Why do you have it? What is it? How do you get it met? All that kind of fun stuff so that people can reference it looking backwards.
149.
149.
There it is.
So this one seems like this should take us, we're 20 minutes into the podcast. Feels like it should take about 3 to 4 minutes. We'll bang this out. We'll take as deep of a dive as we can.
You're
but
welcome, Duke.
There's more to it than you think.
Oh, I love the outline, man. Like it's comprehensive and there's a lot of points that I think are really valid that I'm excited to talk about.
Starting with the definition.
What is it?
Expressing, if I may, expressing care and closeness through physical touch, saying I love you or I care about you. This is both physical and verbal.
And I think that's a good thing to look at as we begin, that you might have gotten it verbally growing up. Like in my situation, my family was a big I love you family. Love you, love you, love you, all that kind of fun stuff. Not a big hug, not a big, physical affection family.
Yeah.
And so I do have a high need for affection, especially in that regard. Rachel didn't have the verbal, didn't have the physical, and except for the closest of loved ones, has very little need for affection. So it can be separated. It's not both. You might be the kind of person that has to hear I love you, but doesn't want a hug. That would actually be Rachel.
Well, and I would, so affection isn't real high on my list. And I'm a big I love you guy, but I feel like it's more about acceptance, making sure everything's okay, or maybe
emotional security,
or emotional. Yeah, right. So it's not so much of affection with me. It's just like whenever I say like I love you to Amy on the way out, like I need to hear you say it, so I know we're cool. And then I'm
absolutely
yeah.
That is not affection,
right?
That is reassurance, which is in the security / acceptance family.
Interesting. You got me rethinking my whole need here.
You need hugs for acceptance.
Yeah, maybe and security. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I don't like the way it feels. I just like what it indicates. Well, that's actually true. I mean, that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily get the warm fuzzies when she says I love you. You get relief.
Yeah. Well, it also depends on the moment. Yeah. But
certainly.
Yeah.
And so we started going to with each emotional need, we want to say, well, why does somebody have that need? And I started that by saying, I had part of it met, but not all of it met.
Right.
Rachel didn't have any of it met, but she doesn't have that need.
Yeah.
Others, Rachel very easily could have the hugest need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Making up for lost time.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I was never loved, never hugged, never whatever else. So, and spoiler alert, as we go through all the emotional needs, that's true of each and every one. You can have the need because it has always been met, or you could have the need because it's never been met.
Yeah.
I would say, and I don't even definitively know the answer to this, but you could have, say, a small need. Say on our scale, 10 is the highest, -10 is the lowest. Maybe you got a 2, and your highest ones are 7, 8, whatever else. But if you're in a relationship where it's not getting met at all, I think that need could increase.
Yeah.
But predominantly, it's the way you were raised.
Yeah.
So how do we meet affection?
How about verbally?
I think that is one of the ways. We did say there's 2 ways. There's verbally and physically.
I like the second one, written expressions. And this actually met a need of mine. I had taken a trip. I don't really want to go into what that trip was for, but Amy had filled let's call it a business trip. And Amy had filled my suitcase.
Okay, I just want you to know, from a communication / podcast perspective,
I know.
Everybody right now is going, where the hell did he go?
What,
You guys know where
They
I
are not thinking about affection. They're not thinking about Amy. They're like, no, why would he not want to share? Well, Amy put notes in.
It was a business-related trip.
Business-related trip.
You guys know where I went.
Maybe.
Yeah, musical, stuff. And but Amy had packed my suitcase with all kinds of funny notes.
Aw.
And it was great, and
That's
I felt
awesome.
very comforted,
Yeah,
and
that's very cool.
gave me confidence, and
Yeah.
it was great. It was awesome.
Nice.
That's interesting though. So that wouldn't be for somebody that's high on acceptance. Again, I guess it's kind of like a.
Well,
it's
in
a
that
fine
case, it
line.
met his need for affection.
Okay.
Because he's like,
Interesting.
oh, she loves me.
She loves
Yeah.
me.
Like,
She
Like, it
cares
wasn't
about me.
I love you too.
Right.
Okay, we're
Okay,
good.
good.
No matter how this
Interesting.
goes.
Okay, yeah.
No matter how this goes, she's still gonna love me, and
Mhm.
it's all good.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm big on the verbal. I will say that.
Right. So underneath verbal, we basically have two things. We have literally verbal,
Right.
and then basically written /
Mhm.
typed / texted
Things you read,
verbal.
which
Yeah.
is verbalish. Yeah, but I don't know. Those hit me really differently. Like the actual verbal. I was thinking through this in my head earlier in prepping for this
For lack
wonderful
of a better
episode.
term, the audible verbal.
The audible verbal. Yes.
I commend you for prepping for this.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
guy.
you. And how different those two things feel to me, the verbal versus the written. Like written, I mean, that's great. That's awesome. Obviously, that takes time for somebody to write a note to you and everything. And yet, it never hits me the same. Like I read it and like, oh, those are nice words. That's great. But when like Amy expresses something to me in the moment,
Mhm.
like, and I can see like whatever, the glow in her eyes, that she's expressing a moment of affection, that is huge for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so different. And it's funny that they're pretty much the same category, and yet obviously everybody's reacts a little differently to these things.
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said for that personal, in the moment authenticity when you get that. Like it's authentic, and you know that there's a connection there
Yeah.
that is powerful and tangible. And I mean, obviously, again, that can come through a written note or something like that. But there really is something about looking somebody in the eye and having them say something that just like blows up your soul.
Or just come in for a hug and knowing that they just want to give you a squeeze. You know what I mean? Like it's just that moment
Well,
of
that's physical.
oh, whoops.
Yeah.
I'm getting
Which
ahead
is
of
fine.
myself.
No, that's fine.
Verbal can lead to physical.
But I want
So it's been said.
It often does.
I want to point out a really interesting thing that you said, Chris. Because you said, the written, I mean, I appreciate it. It took more time. I think that goes to, I know it goes to literal like percentages of communication. You know, that it's 50% is the body language, 43% is the tone, and 7% is the written word.
Right.
Is actually the words that are chosen. You know, because I can say I love you, but if I'm gritting my teeth and it has a really growly voice, you're not going, oh, I love you too. So therefore, to you, the words alone mean less.
Yes.
Even though it took more time. And given your propensity, you could even be like, man, what did she mean by that?
Yeah. Right.
You know, or why did she do this? Or,
Whereas
the eye contact,
Jinx.
the body language, / the voice tone, and
it
everything
solidifies
else
it.
Solidifies it and really
I
anchors into
appreciate
your
that
heart.
analysis. Thank you.
Yeah. But I still think, so those are the two categories, the actual audible verbal and then the written verbal in whatever way. And I think, just like you said, those are so important too. If you have a need for affection, those little notes, a little text out of nowhere, I love you. I mean, that, for somebody who needs that, gosh, that's gold.
And I think it is about the timing as well, Chris. Like you mentioned the timing, like it's all about in the moment. But I think there's a time like where if you did, like, because the timing was there for me. Like I opened up my suitcase, when I was alone in a hotel room, I was like, it was great.
Yeah.
And also, it could hit you in the right way. It might take more effort in the words that are chosen to make you feel a little bit more impacted if it was a text or a note. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
And like you said, the moment, I mean, and it was a surprise, I think, right?
Oh, totally.
So
well,
that-
she had done a couple. Like I found one in my on my steering wheel because driving to the airport. But then there was I found 12.
That's
like,
awesome.
Like when I got there, it was
and
was
so it blows
funny.
you away. It's totally unexpected, which is different than, like, let's say a birthday card, which I love. Listen, I don't want to put birthday cards down because
I'm
they're
not a
great.
fan. I'm not a fan.
Nah.
Okay, but they're also prescribed, right? And
Right.
so you are like, okay, this was nice, but did they mean every word? Is
Right.
it just somebody being? And I'm not talking about maybe your spouse, but just whatever. Just and how much of this do they say to everybody? Are these really special words specifically for me? So all those sort of things tend to run through my head.
It's why I don't buy I only buy funny cards. And then if I want to, I write a note
Sure.
in there that's personal. Cuz the pre-written stuff is all generic to me and it's not I don't know. It's just not genuine. It's not my
Whereas a
words.
spontaneous note of affection can certainly have the most impact, is what you're saying by all that.
Right.
I think this is important to point out as well when we talk about the successful components of a relationship being mutual giving, open, honest, and vulnerable communication, and God at the center. I think there are times when we're in a relationship and God puts another person on our heart, specifically your spouse or whatever, that in that moment, like God put that on Amy's heart, I would bet, to give you that note.
Yeah, totally.
And so then when you act on that and you say, okay, they might need this right now.
Mhm.
I may need to say this to her right now. That's how the God at the center part works. We often think, it's a plaque you put on your living room that says, God's the center of this relationship. You're like, okay, great, whatever. But hey, do they need anything right now? Maybe they need an I love you right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, boom. And that's how it can work. And like, it is incredible when you do that pause, when you do ask that question, you get that answer, and then you go ahead and follow through. And they say, you know what? How did you know I needed that? How did you know that when I opened up my suitcase, I was feeling so detached and separated and alone?
Mm-hmm.
And those notes made the world to me. And so meant the world to me. Physically, too often I think we think, straight to sex.
Yeah.
That's affection. Well, yes.
Well, and you can have sex without
Typical
affection
man.
too.
Correct.
Like sex can be completely affectionless.
Yes. But simple ways, I broke them into two categories: general affection and intimate affection.
I'm big on both of those, the general and the intimate, but like I'm a hugger. I love to, give people pounds or handshakes or whatever. Like last night, you walked in your door at your house, and like normally I don't give you the handshake, wraparound hug, but I did that last night. And it's just my first instinct. It's what I want to do. And I know that there's people out there like, ugh, just it's not their thing. And so I do try to be cognizant of that, but I am just
and that's one of the lessons as we go through this is, are you giving it because they need it, or are you giving it because you need it?
Let me force my affection upon you. Yeah.
Yeah, and we will touch on that.
Yeah.
But I mean, the rest of the general, so to speak, the general things. I mean, a dab, fist bumps.
Mm-hmm.
It's very small,
Mm-hmm.
but that is a connection. There is touch,
Yeah.
and for some people, that's all they want.
Yeah.
Because okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Or it can be a high five. It can be a hug that I wrote down as a polite hug.
Mm-hmm.
Because like if you deny it, like if you just like leave them hanging, it's so awkward.
It's also,
And it can be a real hit to somebody.
and this is where I was going with it, like all these general physical things, like the light things, that hits me way more in respect. And I know we're not doing respect tonight, but I'm just saying, I'm not sure I get a feeling of affection from those as much as, oh, you see me and you're respecting me, and not, you're approaching me to give me a fist bump, or you coming to greet me and shake my hand. I don't know that I get affection from that.
I think, as you do reference respect is, the base level of treatment for another human being. So if they wouldn't at least do that, well, then that would be disrespectful.
Right.
So, okay, I'm considering it to be respect, but I'm not so sure you're actually giving me affection. But like if a guy comes up and gives you pounds and he goes, my man, and give you a pound in there, you go,
Okay.
I'm his man.
Okay, yeah.
You combine a little verbal with the physical.
You just got me again, Jay. I love it.
And I was gonna say, and I didn't want to derail from affection, but for me, it's also approval, belonging. It's part of the group.
Right.
I
belong.
belong.
Well, things that are commonly known to be affectionate can meet other needs or not be meeting affection needs. Is exactly what you're saying. And you're doing a really good job of identifying that, because you do have a need for belonging as well.
I do. Right. And
so,
that's what it
okay,
is more to me.
I'm in the pound club at least.
Yeah,
Okay,
right,
I'm in the pound club. I'm not quite into the handshake hug, and we're nowhere near the hug or club, the hug club yet, but at least I'm in this level.
Yeah.
And that fits with what you said at the top, Jay, about like how, it seems like we could go through affection in 3 or 4 minutes because everybody's familiar with affection.
Oh, but are they?
Right, exactly. But we feel like, okay, we know what affection is because we do. It's maybe the most visible emotional need that we see.
It seems like it's the most obvious.
Yes,
right?
It's the obvious one that we see everybody doing, but it also, like what you just said, it ties into these other things in our brains.
As they most emotional needs do.
Well, and also it also hits on my acceptance. Like, they gave me a hug. We must be all right.
We're still okay.
We're still okay. Like whatever.
I added on here, polite hugs, and I wrote European kisses.
Yeah.
For all those people in London.
Well, no, but like Rachel, one of Rachel's best friends, I'll just say it, Michelle, her dad is like, think Irish Catholic, or is he Italian? I don't know. But like they went to go see Michelle's daughter in a musical. Bella and Rachel did. And so, this guy, Michelle's dad, has known Rachel since she was in junior high school.
Mm-hmm.
And so she says, hey, this is my daughter, Bella. And he grabs her and gives her the biggest kiss cheek to cheek.
Mm-hmm.
So no lips.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he's like, oh, and he grabs her head and he just pulls it in. And like Bella died 2,000 deaths. But it's a, and so you go back to Europe with a kiss on the cheek, kiss on the cheek, kiss on the other cheek. But there's nothing, he's showing affection.
Yeah.
He is showing, that you are dear. You are my daughter's best friend's child and you are important to me and I want to care about you. And I mean, he wasn't meeting her need at all in that moment.
Yeah.
Right.
We can throw 1,000 emotional needs out, but for him, it's a display of affection.
Yeah, and it just, that also just dawned on me, if this is one of your highest emotional needs, these past 2 years have probably been really tough on you.
Catastrophic.
Because there's, there hasn't been a lot of that. A lot of people haven't
being
been
discouraged to touch, being discouraged to get together.
Well, and I don't want to go down that road.
Warning. We may lose Brian.
Yeah.
Warning.
Yeah, I don't want to get derailed here.
I'm just out here.
But I do want to point out, like,
time.
hey, but I do want to point out for those people, you may be wondering why they are so hurt, they are so down, they are so distraught. It's because everybody's been told not to be affectionate, and like that's gonna hurt a lot.
That's effed up.
Now, we've all had that moment, like I put my hand out when I meet somebody and they give you the pounds or the elbow and you're just like, all right, sorry.
We're having a good time.
Yeah.
And speaking of Irish or Italian and whatever, too, like it brings up the question of culture. You know what I mean? Like affection in the culture that you were
it's a big part of
raised
that,
in. It's, so all of this would be. I mean, I'm not sure the types of affection would be different, but I think the levels and the amount would vary depending on.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then we get into the more intimate, which is what most people think of, I think, especially with husband and wife stuff, relationship, affection. And that is the more warm embrace hugs.
Yeah.
And certainly kissing, not European kissing, but just, standard North American.
Long looks, like long, deep looks with somebody too.
An affectionate look.
Yeah.
Interesting. That would be a third category.
Would that be physical? It's.
Well, it is physical because it's eyes, but your community, maybe that's another whole category.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
it's unknowable.
And then, one might say sex, but one could say making love, the act of, true physical intimacy.
Because again, like a prostitute has sex, but they're not doing that for affection.
Not if they're staying professional.
Yeah, right.
Right.
So how is it not met? How are we hurt by not receiving it?
Right. Seems simple. Well, there's a lot of ways.
Yeah.
The cold shoulder, just the coldness,
Yeah.
shut down. That doesn't feel very affectionate.
Weaponized, intentional absence of it verbally. I love the
Silent.
word weaponized.
Silent treatment.
Yeah.
Imagine the, hey, love you. And no, I love you too.
Right.
back.
That's what I'm saying. That's what, like, I couldn't leave the house.
The reciprocity.
Right. I can't leave the house. We have to resolve whatever's going on.
I'm going to die in this spot.
Well, and there it is. Speaking of in relationships, it comes up like if you are in an argument with your spouse or whatever, having a disagreement, having a all-out fight about something, and you want to resolve that, or she wants to resolve that, but the other, the other person isn't really ready to be affectionate again. Like if one person reaches out and says, "Hey, I love you," and the other person's just like still too in the moment of
they
anger,
literally cannot give you an affection.
Yeah, then I'm not sure I'd call that weaponized, but it's certainly an awkward denial of maybe what one partner is needing in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think weaponized is a great word because people do take it and use it to control, to manipulate, to deprive. And you mentioned also, of it sexually too. Like one of the most, I think, important and powerful things that I heard when Lex and I were going through premarital counseling was not to use sex as a weapon. And I'd never thought about it, but man, I'm glad we heard that at that point in time, because like it just changes the way that, because people do it all the time. I mean, how often do people abuse the, you know, sex or physical, or again verbal? Like it's dark, man. That sucks.
And it certainly
Hurts.
Yes, it's very effective. We came up, well, giving it to others is another one.
What do you mean by that?
Well, imagine you're in a relationship and all you ever do is say to your wife or say to your husband, I love you, I love you, I love you. And you get like at best, whatever. But then all they do is give it to their kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they're so lovey-dovey with the kids.
The thing that you desire so much.
So much. They're giving to the kids or
Yeah.
with their girlfriends or their buddies. You know, they're piling around, high-fiving the guys, everything else, and then they come home and just look at their wife and then go into the kitchen.
Yeah.
So they not only do not get it, but you see it being given to others. I mean, that's just...
Wouldn't that be stealing or misusing it, though?
No.
No.
No. They are someone that you want affection from.
Mm-hmm.
A, you're not getting it.
Mm-hmm.
B, they're giving it to somebody else. So you're not stealing it, you're not getting it, and you're seeing it being given to somebody else.
Right.
Gotcha.
Is what I would say.
Yeah.
But how do we steal or misuse it?
Well, we're not to there yet.
Oh, we have an E.
Then we have one last way. Oh, you weren't in on the E meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed the E meeting.
And it is not
My
the...
bad.
It's not the electronic meeting.
And it's not the George Costanza stopping short. Wasn't that his
Oh,
move?
yeah.
Stop
Yeah.
short. But when you come in for a hug and somebody gives you the handshake,
Yeah.
you know, you're like, I wanted to... Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
Okay.
Now I feel
Right.
like an ass.
All right, we referenced it with the whole COVID thing, you know, but it can also just happen.
And if you're in a relationship, an intimate relationship, and all you're getting is the general sort of, like you said, like a fist bump, or you come in.
Can we make love tonight? No, but I gave you pounds. Yeah, not that kind of pounds.
You come in for a real hug, for example, and you get the polite hug,
Right. You give the tap,
because
tap,
the
tap on the
spouse
back.
is on their way to something else, or
Right.
they are
It's dismissive.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's dismissive.
quick
stopping
because,
short of what you really
Yeah.
need.
Yes,
Not
yes,
in
yes,
the
yes.
moment. It's we're already past it. In the
Yeah,
middle of it.
there's not a lot of
Yeah.
authenticity in that.
Yeah.
And so when any emotional need is not met, you are supposed to openly and honestly and vulnerably communicate that, and then your spouse is to mutually give that to you. When that doesn't happen, either you didn't ask right or they didn't give it to you, we end up stealing or manipulating to have our emotional needs met, and that is very true with affection. How are some ways that we do that?
Well, one that I am guilty of is, and this is probably the easiest way to know what emotional needs you might have. How do you give affection or whatever emotional need to another person, right? So I definitely am guilty of, if I want to hear I love yous from Amy, I'm reaching out with the I love you. If I want physical, a hug from Amy,
You're forcing.
I'm
a hug
going
on-
in
on
for a
her.
hug,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So
You want her to mirror what you want.
Yes.
Or-
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
But in the long run, that doesn't, like, you're trying to steal it, but it doesn't
Oh, it never
actually
does.
meet it.
Nope.
Because what you really, I'll speak personally, what I really would desire is like for Amy
Proactive.
Independently.
to be, yes, to just, man, she just wants to wrap me up because she thinks I'm awesome, you know?
Yeah, and that's
There's
why
the
when we
drop,
steal
ladies and
the
gentlemen.
emotional needs, they never satiate.
Yeah. Teasing about it?
Sure.
Ugh.
What does that mean?
Chris knows, apparently.
No, this one, no. But I just, teasing's bad, right?
You tell your kids at school that all the time, right?
That's right. No, I think it means if you're not getting that affection, then you are picking on the other person for it. Like, oh, why are you so cold? Or why are you...
Right. That's a little more aggressive.
Okay.
The way the two examples I'll use, one is me and one is my brother, and you've all heard it. Because I will say to Rachel, hey, whatever, and she's like, okay, yeah, no, not.
Mhm.
So give me affection. No. It doesn't exactly go like that. And what I will say to her is, honey, do you realize how many women would love to be
Line
in
up.
your shoes right now? And my brother's line is, Jan, Look out the window. They're lining up. They're lining up, Jan, and you're the lucky one. You get to be first. Yeah. And of course, Jan always says to her, "Go." Rachel always says, "False." But I'm just joking.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Right.
No, I'm not. I'm saying, why won't you treat me the way I think many other people would?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not open and honest. That's,
Right.
that's not vulnerable. That's I'm teasing. But I'm not.
Kernel of truth to every joke.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Rough housing or physical play can also be a way to misuse it.
I
That
love
is-
that Chris just reacts to each and every one else. He's like, Tuesday,
You know,
last Wednesday.
when Amy and I,
Tomorrow.
yeah, when Amy and I have wrestling Thursdays,
I get to wear a mask this week. Oddly enough, it lasts longer when I wear the mask. She seems to be engaged. False. So, Toro, go ahead and tell us why you react.
Yeah, no, just honestly, it's just the imagining of like the rough housing or physical play, the almost pushing yourself. Well, it is in a way pushing yourself on the other
Right,
person,
but in a non-affectionate manner, so it's okay.
So so we're just playing around, but maybe you'll glean some sort of physical affection from that, I guess.
It's physical touch.
yeah, I was
It's
gonna
not
say
affection.
like this could be even like with like one of your kids, like you're wrestling with their kids and they don't want to be like Maggie loves to be tickled. Some kids hate to be tickled and they don't want to have that put on them,
Right.
you know, and that can be, you know, really not it's the opposite of affection.
For me, this was my dad and my mother 101. I mean, it was my dad because, again, my mother, not the most physically, verbally, wonderfully affectionate. Physically, no. Well, my dad, as he proved through later decisions he made in his life, had a very high need for affection. And so he would come up and he would shake her, you know, and yeah, it was. He'd pull her shorts down, like right in the kitchen, like like he pants her, like with us in the room, not the least bit. And we're like, Dad, don't do that.
I think you just stole something from Mom.
A lot.
Emotional needs.
But you know, like I'll tackle Rachel, or you know, I'll wrestle with Rachel. You know, and part of it is play, but it's also in that same category.
Yeah.
Aggressive, harmful demands, manipulations.
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't need a whole lot of descriptions, but
so again, the question is, how do we steal or misuse it? Just to go.
Oh,
back.
yeah, these aren't tips.
Right. Yeah. How do you steal or misuse it? And aggressive, harmful demands or manipulations.
Absolutely, and that's all different kinds of ways. I mean, there's the obvious. You know, if you look at things like rape and whatnot, I mean, that's taking it. That's the worst.
That's a big steal.
But it can also be ways like, well, I always know that if I buy her something, she'll be more willing to do this. Or if she drinks too much, she'll be more willing to do that. Which, yes, technically that is still rape. But you know, there's that kind of manipulation as well. It isn't because it's an altruistic feeling. And again, the point is with all of these, it doesn't meet your need. Even though you're getting, quote unquote, the acts of affection. The demands and manipulations. I have dealt with here I am being a pastor again, a grown-ass man who just so happened to have moved back in at home at the age of 27, whose mother demanded that he come into her bedroom every night, say I love you, and kiss her on the cheek. And she would like call his phone if he was in the bedroom and say, you didn't do what I told you to do.
Oh my goodness.
Well, do you think that made her like warm and fuzzy before she went? So that's a demand and a manipulation.
Ugh.
It isn't. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like Kathy Bates in Misery kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, she didn't go into his room and lock him down. That would be.
Yeah.
Or club his
You
feet.
could see that happening.
I would. Yeah. If I got like a phone call, I'd be like, all right,
makes sense.
I'm not saying I predicted it, but I'm not shocked. And then just like giving it to others is a way we have ours not met. Getting it from others.
Yeah.
And that is everything from pornography and prostitution, physical affairs, or the really understated one, which is emotional affairs. That's just, you know, and I love when people say, well, that's just the same as. No, it's different. but it can be equally as damaging.
Mm-hmm.
And I've dealt with people who have suffered from spouses having emotional affairs, and it is catastrophic. And there's a billion reasons for it, but that's all that person was trying to get their needs met from somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And that ain't right.
Right. And when you let someone else, like when you are in a relation, I mean, like anybody needs to be told this, because I think we all know what a relationship is, and yet they can get out of hand to the point where you feel like you need to reach out to somebody else. And when you have that emotional connection with another person, you are severing something with your spouse or whoever you're in a relationship with, to the point where you are, I don't know, just like you're going to have a hard time coming back and then meeting those needs with your spouse, I think. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm staring off in the distance because I'm saying, are you severing, or has it been severed, and therefore you're going elsewhere? But either way, neither's good, neither's productive.
Right.
So when we are hurt, anything else you want to add to that, guys, as far as ways we try to steal it?
Mm-mm.
No,
Ways that it
it's pretty
hurts?
comprehensive, I think.
So this last section we do with each deep dive on emotional needs, whenever we have an emotional need not met or taken from us, it is what we like to call a hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about the ways it hurts, but where does the hurt go? Hurts go in 4 different categories. When our need for affection is not met or taken from us, when we are hurt in that regard, where does it go? In regards to fear.
Not believing we can ask for it. I'm afraid of asking or putting myself out there.
Yeah, you want to hold hands with your spouse, and they pull the hand back.
Yeah.
Later on, you want to hug, and you're like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Just denied so many times. You just
I don't want to communicate. I'm not going to be vulnerable anymore because I've been hurt.
Mm-hmm. That's like the example you've used before about, the young couple walking through the mall or something, and he goes to reach for her hand and she's like pulls it back. I mean, that's a deep scar, and that's probably something that'll, affect him or her, whoever's being wrong.
Right. The next time they want affection, they're like, I mean, didn't go so well last time.
You touched that hot oven once, and you don't want to touch it again.
And then you go to a married couple where they're having problems in the relationship, and the one wants to have sex and the other doesn't. And so imagine if they say, hey, listen, could we? And they go, no.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we ain't asking again.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you do, it's like it just keeps going worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
guilt, the belief that one's actions have caused the lack of affection.
Right. So if you're again in a fight with your spouse, or whatever. I'm running out of examples, but
I think that it's kind of like the
Amble.
to the Constitution,
to the fear. No, to the fear. Because in that same example of the
like the prelude, you mean like the
No, I'm messing it up.
No, it's because an example I use when I teach.
It's a hold hand
where
thing,
the
but there's
hurts
a whole
go.
there's a
Right,
whole
well, it
yeah.
applies to each one.
Right. That's what I'm trying to remember.
And so in that example, say the guy reached, like Brian switched it because normally it's the girl reaching out for the guy's hand, but the guy reaches out for the girl's hand. She says she doesn't let him hold her hand. Okay, how does that apply to guilt? Well, he thinks, oh, you know what? I was hanging out with the guys last night, and she wanted to go out, but I went out with them instead. And I'm such a jerk. I'm always spending time with my friends. Of course, she doesn't want to hold my hands. Or I didn't tell her that her dress looks nice. So therefore, I'm a jerk.
Right.
I don't deserve to have my hand held because
Something happened.
I screwed up.
Yeah, prior to the event. And then the other sub bullet here is the feeling that one's asking for affection has caused it not to happen.
so that's like you feel, that's you feel like you're too needy.
Sure.
You're taking on the burden. Oh, I can't believe I asked. No wonder.
I'm always asking.
Yeah, I'm
And
so
she would-
needy. I'm not well.
And very often the other person can say, oh, I would have done it, but now that you asked, it's awkward. Like, you're right, it's my fault.
I made it awkward. And I was going to take it right in. Sorry, go ahead.
No,
Brian.
please.
I was going to take it into self-condemnation
Yeah, go
because
for
I
it.
was going to say that, oh, I'm so needy. I messed it up. I'm a bad person. I'm not worth it. And that's, self-condemnation, the feeling that one is not worthy of affection. And that, I think, is a more generalized thing. Guilt is probably more of a you have a specific thing that happened or that
I
you
did something that
It's a
caused
reaction,
Yeah.
right?
And self-condemnation is more of just a generalized. I mean, it could have reasons in your own brain too, but it's a more generalized, like, because of who I am,
Well, that's the
I
difference.
don't deserve it.
Guilt is what I did.
Yeah.
Self-condemnation is who I am.
Right.
And that can be broken down two ways. One is as a person, who I am. I'm not worthy of that affection, whatever else. But since we're dealing with affection, it can be how I look.
Mm.
I'm just too ugly. I'm just too. It's not that I'm miserable or I am, worthless. I'm ugly. I'm fat. I'm gross. I'm disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, I'm not worthy of that.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I'm not in good enough shape to have that person really care about me.
And the last is anger. Not being able to see why the other can't meet your need for affection.
So you're just so hurt. You're so hurt that they won't do it.
What's wrong?
Well, right. And the point is, you're like, well, maybe it's because you should feel guilty. You can't see because they don't have a high need for affection.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not where you are.
Mm-hmm.
So like if your need's an 8 and there's this -4, if they're giving you -2, hey,
Yeah.
that's got to be worth something.
Yeah.
But you're so angry that your 8 isn't being met,
Mm-hmm.
you don't even see that.
You're like, come at me, bro. No, really, come at me. Like you want,
There's a lot of words in there that kind of made that awkward, but
No.
Um,
Anyway.
but yeah, you're just, if you don't get your need for affection, you get blinded by not being able to see the other person and see, well, maybe what's their story
Mm-hmm.
and where are they? I want to add one little category is for somebody who has got a very high emotional need, my heart breaks because I feel like they're always chasing the need. That is almost, that I never see them just be like, they're always chasing it. You give them the handshake, they want the hug. Give them the hug, they want the long hug. They're always just, everyone they meet, they're trying to get that hug,
Mm-hmm.
Whereas other people, you're like, that was a nice hug. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just feel bad. Are you chasing the need or are you able to embrace? And I think that's a function of how high your need is and how much it's getting met.
That brings up a whole can of worms, though, on like, is an emotional need insatiable? Can it be? Like, is that what you're saying? Like that?
No, it's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
Great
But
topic for a podcast, though. I like that idea.
Or emotional needs. Can emotional needs be
Can they consume you? Is
Like, no matter what, it's not being met.
We could open up that can of worms another time.
Yeah.
My quick reaction to that is, it is at that point no longer an emotional need, or it's. I don't know. We can look into that.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I like that.
Ooh.
It's a good one.
Well, with that cliffhanger, we're going to end episode 153. Thanks for joining us for our episode on affection. And if you can, give us a like or a follow on social media. And definitely visit us at lunchtimeinrome.com. Check out our relational needs questionnaire. Find out what relational needs you need. And get someone who you are in a relationship with to take it as well. And then you can learn more about each other. Thanks for joining us at the table for Lunchtime in Rome.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.